last 12 games, one of the best teams in the NFL. I'm going to tell you why this team is a dark horse contender in the NFC, and they're one of the best teams in the NFL. When you hear about this division in particular, you'll hear about the Detroit Lions, and rightfully so. They just went to the NFC Championship a year before against the San Francisco 49ers. They're one of the best teams in the NFL. And you will hear about the Green Bay Packers, but you really don't hear about the Minnesota Vikings. This team lost 2 games back to back. And they lost in very interesting ways. They lost to the Detroit Lions by 2 points. They lost to the Los Angeles Rams by 10 points. And I'll say more about that Rams game in the next couple of minutes. But when I look at the Minnesota Vikings, Sam Darnold has played very good over the last 3 games. 6 passing touchdowns to 0 interceptions. That's the one thing with Sam Darnold. You'll always hear, well, he's going to turn the football over. He's a turnover machine, even dating back to USC. But most people won't talk about this. Sam Darnold has 23 passing touchdowns. That's the 4th most in the NFL to just 10 interceptions. And this is one of the most complete offenses in all of football because you have Justin Jefferson, you have Jordan Addison, you have TJ Hockenson. Let's give TJ Hockenson a lot of credit. He's been a dominant force since he returned from recovering from that ACL injury. This man did not get the full training camp reps. He did not get the full OTAs. He was still recovering from a torn ACL that he suffered late last season. And this man's a top receiving tight end in all of football when he's fully healthy. And you're seeing it right now. They have played the majority of this season without him. And their offense has went to another level with him. And I'm going to tell you why. The Chicago Bears went out there a couple weeks ago and they triple teamed Justin Jefferson. You heard that correctly. They triple teamed him for the first 2 quarters. Then they put him in double coverage. But you saw TJ Hockenson go out there and have success. You saw Jordan Addison go out there and have success. That is what is so tricky about the Minnesota Vikings. They're going to make you cover every blade of grass because this wide receiving duo and that big tight end. That's why it was such a shocker when the Detroit Lions traded TJ Hockenson to the Minnesota Vikings. You usually don't see those type of trades happen within division. It's not like TJ Hockenson was some type of scrub. This man was a star tight end with the Detroit Lions. Sure, he had some drops here and there, but he was a very good tight end. I look at this situation now with the Minnesota Vikings. How do you go out there? How do you defend this team? Besides their offensive line being a problem over the last few weeks, Sam Darnold, he's taking care of the football. They can run the football at a high clip with Aaron Jones. Last season, that was their Achilles heel. They could not run the football effectively enough. They were one-dimensional, and they were beating themselves with turnovers. Now Sam Darnold has went back. He's being safer with the football. He's still taking those deep shots down the field to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. But he's doing a better job of taking care of the football, and their defense is more consistent and they're better. We go back to what happened last season. Kirk Cousins looked very good before he tore his Achilles, but the defense at that time was not playing very well. They were better than the year before with Coach Ed. But the first half of the season, their defense was up and down. As soon as Kirk Cousins goes down, their defense plays better. But unfortunately for the Minnesota Vikings, you had Josh Dobbs, you had Jaron Hall, Nick Mullins, turnover machines at the quarterback position. You bring in Sam Darnold. He'll go out there. He may have a game where he has 3 interceptions like how he had against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But you have a defense now that has his back. You have a run game that can slow the game down. You can now be more flexible with your play calls because Sam Darnold has that mobility. Something Kirk Cousins never had with the Minnesota Vikings. And the play action bootlegs now can be ran more off the athleticism and more off the arm power of Sam Darnold. Because even though Sam Darnold came from USC, you worry about quarterbacks that come from Southern California. Can their arm go out there? Can they dice you up in colder weather? Sam Darnold's arm can. He played with the New York Jets. Even though he was not successful with the New York Jets, that was not his fault. And I do believe him going into those bad spots with the Carolina Panthers, with the New York Jets, that's helped prepare him for this situation. This is why you cannot write off quarterbacks that win the first round or even the second round anymore. And I feel like that's what the national media has done with the Minnesota Vikings. You don't hear about them as much because you hear about a young coach in Kevin O'Connell, even though he's had a lot of success so far in the NFL, made the NFL playoffs with Kirk Cousins. The only reason they lost to the New York Giants, their defense was abysmal with Coach Ed. That was not on Kevin O'Connell. That was not on Kirk Cousins. That defense was atrocious. And they fired Coach Ed. You bring in Brian Flores, who was a former head coach with the Miami Dolphins. But you look at certain situations, you cannot sleep on the Minnesota Vikings. Look at Geno Smith with the Seattle Seahawks, made the NFL playoffs. Look at Baker Mayfield with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. These quarterbacks are placed into a horrible situation. Usually when you're great in college, you come over to a team like the New York Jets. You may go to a team like the Carolina Panthers or the Cleveland Browns, and they'll give up on you, and they'll bring in another quarterback, and it's a repeating cycle. Look at the New York Jets quarterbacks throughout the last couple of years. Look at Geno Smith. They couldn't develop him. They could not go out there. They could not develop Sam Darnold. They could not develop Zach Wilson, so they throw him away. But Sam Darnold was always so interesting to me because of what he was able to do at USC. In those first 3 games with the Carolina Panthers, they were very good. Then he got injured. The offensive line was abysmal. He comes back into the lineup when they move off of Baker Mayfield. You have Steve Wilkes as the interim head coach. They go on a mini run. And then the Panthers go out there. They blow everything up. He becomes the backup for the San Francisco 49ers and Brock Purdy. And the reason why I bring that up, he's in the Kyle Shanahan system. Just because you're a backup quarterback doesn't mean you're just over there holding a clipboard. You're still in on film study. You're still watching the game from the sideline. He is still a quarterback that was developing. He's only 27 years old. And this is a man that sat behind Brock Purdy and figured out everything what to do. That year off has given Sam Darnold a lot of time to figure things out. And that's what he said he wanted to do. He comes over to the Minnesota Vikings and look at him now. One of the better quarterbacks in the NFL this season. And am I saying that Sam Darnold's going to go out there and be the next Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers? No. But I believe that he's playing well enough right now to get them to a certain spot to where they want to be. And obviously he is. They have 10 wins on the season. If this was any other division, they would be in the NFL playoffs right now as we speak. Unfortunately for them, this division is tough as hell. And they still have a great shot to win this division. If you ask me right now, out of all the 3 teams who will win this division, I would say right now the Minnesota Vikings because of how well their defense is playing and how well Sam Darnold looks in the last 3 games. It's not like he's going out there against bad defenses and he's putting up these numbers. This man went against the Arizona Cardinals, a tough defense. They did a number on Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers offense. The Chicago Bears, they have the 13th passing defense in the NFL. Look at what they just did against the Detroit Lions. They almost took them into overtime on Thanksgiving Day. The Tennessee Titans, one of the best defenses in the NFL. So when I look at Sam Darnold, he has played very good. He's 10th in passing yards and all of football. They have something here. And I do believe the injury with J.J. McCarthy was a blessing in disguise. There is no way that Kevin O'Connell and crew was not going to be feeling the pressure when he went out there and threw 3 interceptions against the Jacksonville Jaguars and they still won that game because of how good their defense is. People be banging on the table, say, start J.J. McCarthy, start J.J. It basically has given Sam Darnold the opportunity to loosen up. And it's a win-win situation. Kevin O'Connell, if he can do this with Kirk Cousins, he can do this with Sam Darnold. Imagine what he can do with J.J. McCarthy when he has a full year underneath his belt. Right now, he's still recovering from the torn meniscus, but that's for a completely different video. I'm proud of Sam Darnold right now, and I'm happy for Kevin O'Connell. And when I look at that Rams game that I told you guys about earlier in the video, the reason why they lost that game, Christian went down late in the game, and give the Los Angeles Rams a lot of credit. Kevin O'Connell was a former coordinator underneath Sean McVay. He knows him very well. He knows Sean McVay. He got out coached in that game, yes, but Christian went down. And late in that game, the referees missed a face mask call, and it goes for a safety. If that doesn't happen, I understand that to drive the field and go for 2. Have you seen the Minnesota Vikings when they go for 2 on Kevin O'Connell? They're very successful, especially with Aaron Jones and Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. And speaking of those other playmakers around Sam Darnold, Aaron Jones has been very good all season long. He's been in and out of the lineup in certain games dealing with injuries, but he's a very good running back to still have around. He's a veteran running back, and you know that he's running with an extra edge because of the fact the Green Bay Packers moved on for him in favor of Josh Jacobs. Look at how he ran against them when they faced them this season. Many people may not even know this. They beat the Green Bay Packers by 2 points, yes, but that game could have been completely out of hand if the Minnesota Vikings did not go conservative in the second half, and if it was not for a punt debacle by the Minnesota Vikings. It was a botched punt. He tried to go out there and recover the ball and put Jordan Love right into scoring range. Once again, shout out to the Green Bay Packers for taking care of business. But the Minnesota Vikings won that game by 2 points, just like how the Detroit Lions beat the Minnesota Vikings by 2 points. But when I look at Justin Jefferson, his impact on the game is phenomenal because of the attention that he has. He's second in receiving yards in the NFL with 1,038, 5 receiving touchdowns. Jordan Addison, 575 receiving yards, 4 receiving touchdowns. And we have to remember this, 4 to 5 weeks ago, this man was upset because they could not find a way to get him the football because the chemistry was not there with him and Sam Darnold. Well, Kevin O'Connell's finding ways to get him open. He's stacking him on top of Justin Jefferson in certain situations. He's using motion to get him the football. And Jordan Addison has wide receiver number 1 potential. We saw this last season when Justin Jefferson was out dealing with an injury. And you have TJ Hockenson. When I look at this offensive line, I am concerned about them because without Big Christian, their offense has taken a step back, but it's really crazy. It seems like with the more pressure Sam Darnold deals with, the better he plays out there on the field. A lot of that is because he loves to play hero ball, even dating back to USC. When he dealt with pressure, he's one of those quarterbacks. He likes to be outside the pocket. He can operate from inside the pocket, but he's a guy that's going to drift to the right and make a lot of throws across his body. But when I look at this offensive line, you have Cam Robinson. You brought him in for a reason from the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's not as good of a player as Christian is, but that's okay. Christian's one of the best left tackles in the game. You have Brian O'Neill at the right tackle position. I think the offensive line is their biggest weakness right now, but Kevin O'Connell in the past has masked that with quicker passes and being able to run the football with Aaron Jones and getting Sam Darnold outside the pocket and sliding protection. They're going to be okay up there. So if you are a Minnesota Vikings fan and you're saying, hey, Sam Darnold's getting beat up a lot, he's getting banged up a lot, he isn't turning the football over. And he does have mobility to get out of the jam like how he had against the Houston Texans when he got injured in that matchup and he continued to play. He's a tough quarterback. Once again, I'm not saying that he's going to go out there and carry them over the hump solely on his own, but he's not going to be the main reason to why this team loses football games. When they lost against the Rams, that wasn't on him completely. When they lost against the Detroit Lions, that wasn't all on Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold, since they lost against the Detroit Lions, he has been looking at everyone else on the field, from Jalen Naylor to Justin Jefferson and also to Jordan Addison, because in that particular matchup, he was stuck on Justin Jefferson the entire game. Now let's get into the defense, my favorite unit, because it sounds like I love the offense so much, and I do. When I look at their defense, Brian Flores is one of the best defensive minds in all the NFL. This man's going to be a head coach yet again. He was a head coach with the Miami Dolphins, could not work things out because he was not the biggest fan of Tua Tagovailoa. He wanted Justin Herbert instead. Looking at hindsight right now, Justin Herbert on the Dolphins would be insane. But when you look at Brian Flores, this is a man that's been across the NFL for many years. He's a guy that coached right underneath Bill Belichick. So you know he loves defense. This defense is one of the best defenses in the NFL. They're great at stopping the run. And the reason why I bring that up, every defense that he's coached, they have an emphasis on stopping the run and getting to the quarterback. Usually teams will go out there and stop the run. They don't care about getting to the quarterback. And usually teams that care about getting to the quarterback, they usually don't try to go out there and stop the run. Take Dan Quinn, for example. Loves to get to the quarterback. The run game always burns them on the other side. And we've seen this with other defenses across the NFL. When I look at Brian Flores' defense, it's a complete front seven. They're amazing against tight ends. They're amazing against the pass. They can go out there. They can stop your run game. They make you one-dimensional. Why do I bring that up? When they make quarterbacks one-dimensional, then they bring in that blitz. Their secondary is technically sound with Stephon Gilmore, with Byron Murphy Jr., and you also have Shaquille Griffin. Those are very good cornerbacks, especially Stephon Gilmore. It was so essential to bring him in before the season started because this is a man that's a former Defensive Player of the Year. He's technically sound. He's not going to go out there and cost you games because of dumb penalties. Look at the interception that he had against Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. Played the inside all the way. It's the instincts that he has. Is he the same player that he was 4 to 5 years ago? No. But he's still a very good cornerback to have around. And he's helped elevate Byron Murphy Jr., who was a very good cornerback last season with the Minnesota Vikings in his first year with Brian Flores. He was an up and down player with the Arizona Cardinals. But these are long, lanky corners. They can go out there and press you up on the line of scrimmage. And that's going to be essential in the NFL playoffs. And they also rotate their safeties around with Cameron Bynum, who has 3 interceptions on the season. And you look at Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith, you can play him close to the line of scrimmage. You can put him solely on tight ends. He won't let anyone cross his face. And he's still a dominant hitter like how he was 4 to 5 years ago. The secondary, they will give up big plays, but a lot of it is because they blitz a lot. And you're leaving your cornerbacks in one-on-one situations. That's why you have to be technically sound. Will they give up big plays? Sure, but it's late in the game. Look at what happened against the Arizona Cardinals. Early in the game, they're getting to Kyler Murray, one of the best quarterbacks against pressure. They're putting the pressure on him until he breaks. They're blitzing guys over and over again. And against the Los Angeles Rams, the middle of the defense was wide open. That's no longer the case. They will rotate Andrew Van Ginkel. Andrew Van Ginkel has 9 sacks on the season, 2 forced fumbles. The reason why I bring up Andrew Van Ginkel, he's going to be a main reason to why this defense continues to click moving forward. Ivan Pace Jr. unfortunately got injured. He's dealing with a hamstring injury. He's on IR. You look at Andrew Van Ginkel. He can play left outside. He can play middle linebacker. He can play right outside. He's a complete linebacker. And it was so essential to bring him in because Brian Flores helped coach him up with the Miami Dolphins, and he also drafted him. Very good player, fits this system to the T. I love their linebackers. Jonathan Gennard has 10 sacks on the season, 3 forced fumbles. You also look at Pat Jones, 7 sacks. He's cooled down over the last couple of weeks, but he's still getting to the quarterback at a high pressure rate. That's what you love to see. Jerry Tillery is very good against the run, and Harrison Phillips. You have Jonathan Bullard. Those are just complete run stoppers, where everyone else can just go back there and pin their ears back and get to the quarterback. Is it easy to beat this defense with some veteran quarterbacks? Sure. Look at what Matthew Stafford did. But at the same time, the Blitz got home. They cannot bring him down. You're not going to go against Matthew Stafford every single week. And if they face the Los Angeles Rams right now, I would take the Minnesota Vikings to beat them. I look at the Minnesota Vikings. It's one of the hardest defense to go out there and score on consistently because their ability to go out there and give you different looks. They can play cover 1. They can play cover 2. They can play cover 0 where they blitz everyone and leave guys on the island because of the veteranship with their secondary. They have great communication on the back end now. Those splash plays are not happening like how they were early in the season. And this is what you love to see as the NFL playoffs are approaching. Right now, the Minnesota Vikings are my top team in this division. And respect to the Detroit Lions and to the Green Bay Packers, I believe 3 teams will make the NFL playoffs. But do not be surprised if the Minnesota Vikings went out there and they won this division. Because of the head coach with Kevin O'Connell, because of the defensive coordinator with Brian Flores. And it's great to have veterans around. Justin Jefferson has playoff experience. Stephon Gilmore, we all know that he has playoff experience with the New England Patriots. You have Andrew Van Ginkel. You have these veterans around to help out these young guys and help settle them down. And don't forget this. They drafted a very good pass rusher in the first round. He hasn't gotten many snaps this season. And Dallas Turner, be on the lookout for him in the NFL playoffs. Because that's a guy that has shown a lot of potential to fly off the screen. He's developing right now. And they will put him in the game here and there in certain situations. He has heavy hands. He can get off the edge. They have a lot of depth there at the pass rushing spot. They're going to be good. But my main concerns would be the depth at the cornerback position and the tackle positions. That's it. Besides that, the Minnesota Vikings are a dark horse contender in the NFC. And let me know what you guys think about this team in the comment section below. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.